Hello guys, this is Flowtech Gaming. So I want to make a final video surrounding the tragedy of Jade Cove. Because despite the incident taking place on the 26th of last year or so, it still has an overreaching effect on the game as a whole, and I want to put a kind of a final piece together on what I've been able to gather about the incident. I first want to put out a big thanks to the PressCorps, essentially, as most of this information is based upon the video piece that they did about 10, I believe about 10 days ago, sometime last year, just before the year ended, on the Jade Cove incident, where they interviewed multiple different people. They had multiple different sources and insight on what had happened or so. Now, I would really like to promote the channel a little bit here because of the fact that they are actually a pretty neutral, pretty non-biased, channel, essentially. They have a Twitch and a YouTube channel, so I'm going to put links for both of them as well as to the videos that I've watched as my sources or so. They are quite an informative group or so, and I would love to see them continue to make this content or so, as I feel it gives a more in-depth look at the mechanics or so and all the different factors at play or so in these wars, essentially. So definitely check out their channel. Now let's dive into this here. So I want to start off with, the main facts so that I've been able to confirm from all these different sources. Now, when the rocket was actually launched, it had only been fueled up halfway. What does this mean? So, a rocket, in order to hit another region, has to be fully fueled. So to hit anything outside of Founding Coast, it would have to be fully fueled, and this would have taken several hours or so to complete, essentially. So it is a fact that at the stage the rocket was at, it could only hit targets within Founding Coast. It is a fact that WNS was the main body that pushed the objective of actually nuking, not nuking, no, they made it, it's not a nuke, guys. I mean, I call it a nuke. I feel like it's a habit to call it a nuke just because I feel like that's a better word, but it's technically a ballistic missile, one akin to like a B-2 than an ICBM. So if I say nuke, I actually mean rocket or ballistic missile. I'm going to try and say ballistic missile, but I'm going to probably fail, so I'm just going to put that out there. So, WNS is the main body that made the decision, along with various other groups of people at the launch site, to actually, launch the ballistic missile towards Jade Cove. It is a fact that no Wardens were killed by the rocket when it hit Jade Cove. In fact, all the team killing that took place during that time was really, team killing taking place at the launch site between different groups of people who agreed and disagreed with the launching of the missile. At the time or so, about 20 minutes prior to the missile even being launched at Jade Cove, the Jade Cove Town Hall was destroyed, and only the safe house remained. And it's, despite this, there was still huge amounts of colonial forces still encompassing the entirety of Jade Cove, with Warden forces, including myself at a given point in time. I even made a incursion in the Jade Cove prior to the launch, but after it had fallen into colonial hands, to try and link up with Warden forces in order to retake it. This force included several infantry as well as 2 light tanks and a battle tank. This attempt was of course repulsed, and the entire area was basically contested until the launching of the nuke and several hours afterwards. So these are all facts essentially. These are all facts. The fact that the missile could not be launched at any other targets besides the regional ones is a fact. It is a fact that the launch itself was spearheaded by WNS. And it is, well, also, after the launch, it is also a fact that there was also a kill-on-sight order made by multiple clans, including WN against WNS, in order to, as retaliatory strikes against the launch, essentially, as it is arguably the most controversial action in all of Foxhole history, which is very interesting. Clarification, WN is the Warden Navy, WNS is the Warden North Star. Alright, so I want to go through the various interviews that took place during the PressCorps video. The first one is from, I believe the leader or one of the high-ranking officers of WGA, Serenity, who had multiple points to actually make on WGA's role in the launch of the missile, as well as his overall opinions on the matter itself. Now, Serenity has stated in the video that he believes that the nuke was a waste. He has no misgivings towards WNS over the situation and hopes that over time they can be reintegrated into the Warden public, so that all the outcries and backlash against them will eventually just disappear and that they can go back to the status quo, essentially. They also claim that they had no knowledge that the nuke was going to be used on Jade Cove, or that they had information that it was going to be used on another strategic target outside the region. They also condemn the actions that have been placed against WNS and WGA itself. He's stated multiple times in the actual interview that himself and his fellow WGA members or so have been personally attacked, harassed, and team killed, essentially. I can't really confirm this or so. I mean, I've heard chat inside just the regional chat, local chat or so, in the Warden side during the 19th War, that essentially people were just talking about team killing all the people involved, including WNS. I had no idea that it had spread to clans just associated with the launch, which I found quite shocking, really. But I mean, of course, I didn't take any part in this. I was too busy trying to salvage the situation or so. I spent most of my time, basically just grinding, making battle tanks, and trying to hold on to the skirmish regions or so, and just trying to hold on to the last. Yeah, but no, I'm personally shocked with the team killing as a whole, as well as the fact that it's not even exclusive to WNS, but also to clans that apparently, according to themselves, had really nothing to do with the Jade Cove incident besides supplying the resources for the building and development of the rocket, which WN, so the Warden Navy, as well as various other people, had also participated in. So I find this all very shocking, if this is in fact true. What else did they say? They also said that that apparently Serenity himself has been personally attacked, which is outrageous, by the Warden Navy, as well as the fact that, due to all these attacks on himself and his clan, they are possibly have switched sides for the current War 20, essentially. That they have himself, Serenity, and his close friends have switched sides due to all the harassment that they have taken from Wardens, which I find really sad and depressing or so. I mean, I still, what is it? That's another story, but I really am speechless about all of this. So I feel saddened that, what is it? A clan, so a loyal clan that for an instant that they had ultimately they could not really be blamed for, that they would be persecuted by Warden forces is, it's really heartbreaking that this has happened so, and that he's felt that he has to take himself and some of his clanmates over to the colonial side in order to even enjoy the game, which is, it's really disheartening, I have to say. And I hope that we can, what is it, at the very least, move past blaming people sparsely associated with the launch, essentially. So that had nothing to do with launching at Jade Cove, but just helped its development or so for its original goal, essentially, and that we can welcome WGA and all its members back into the Warden fold, so, because that is really tragic, guys. Moving on to the next interview, so it is with Von Claus of the Warden Navy, WN. He's made multiple claims in the videos, so, which are really interesting. Well, to start off, he has claimed that the Warden Navy has had an active role in the defense of Fairnet Coast, or so, and that through the development of the actual ballistic missile, that WN had naval forces, battle tanks, and infantry support all trying to defend Jade Cove and defend the other side of the river, so defending Huss Hollow and the other various regions. And that it's also, his biggest claims are towards the, well, they're very damning to WNS if they are true, because he condemns them heavily on the fact that they, not only the fact that they launched the rocket, but because the claims towards launching the rocket were very needless. He claims that the colonials were really contained across the river, something that I can completely attest to, because the fact that during the entire fiasco, so I was there in Fairnet Coast with my battle tank, so trying to support the defense of the launch site itself. We had made multiple incursions to the other side of the river, hoping to draw attention away from Jade Cove, as well as the fact that we were not alone. We had at least 2 or 3 other battle tanks on site or so, actively trying to defend Jade Cove and its surrounding territories. He claimed that, yeah, he makes the active claim just like really I do, that there was no active threat to the launch site. And the most damning thing that he has said against WNS is the fact that when he was made aware by Cerberus, I believe the leader, one of the high leaders involved with launching the nuke. Oh, I've said this, ballistic missile, my bad. That when he talked to Cerberus about this, that Cerberus apparently gave him promises that he wasn't going to launch the missile against Jade Cove. That he believed that he had talked them down from it, only to later get reports from other members that they were going to go forward with a plan to attack Jade Cove. And that in the, what is it? Yeah, that Cerberus basically lied to him. I guess it wouldn't be a lie, but more of just a change of heart, I suppose, or so. Which is a different portrayal, because in the interview he does make it really sound that they have actually fought together multiple times and that there was actually close ties between the clans themselves, which is really heartbreaking, I would have to say. what else? He also states that he was a firm supporter of using the tactical missile on Vector itself. Going so far as to, I think he said he personally got the coordinates or provided the coordinates for Vector to the launch team itself, so at any time or so, they could have instead launched the missile at Vector. Which I completely support it, essentially. So I believe that Vector was more of a threat than Jade Cove, in a sense, because of the simple fact of the matter that throughout my entirety of fighting on Fairnet Coast, it was Vector, not, what is it? What's the other city's name? Marcus Keening, essentially. Because Marcus Keening was always something that we could easily neutralize. We've neutralized it multiple times, but it was Vector itself that was always the city that held out the longest time due to the approach towards it being very long, very narrow, and quite hazardous to fight through, essentially, with bushes and what is it? It was just like it was a long march to try to get to Vector, so I believe in really that Vector should have been the primary target as well. And it seems that multiple people agreed with this as well. Going back to Serenity's interview, so he also believed that, actually, he believed that Hermit's Rest should have been the primary target of it as well. So, what is it? I'm not going to put any words in his mouth here. But a lot of people did not believe in Jade Cove being the supposed target for a ballistic missile. Moving on, essentially, he also, what is it? I can actually attest to this as well, essentially. This is going to be very biased against WNS, I just realized. I'm trying not to be, but I keep on agreeing with WN's claims, at least for the moment here. But essentially, or WN's claims, yes, but WNS had begun taking weapons and ammunition away from the front line at Jade Cove, essentially, which made it impossible to defend, essentially. Despite the fact that WN and myself were still fighting in Jade Cove, they had, in fact, consistently, on multiple occasions, so actually they had a logistical train just going into Jade Cove, taking weapons and ammunition away from the town to sell, stripping the defenders of any way to actually hold the city, which is really damning of itself, essentially, as they okay, let me just continue with WN and then do move on to the next interview and then do oversights, because I feel like I'm going to keep stopping you. So they claimed that WNS was taking weapons and ammunition away from Jade Cove. They also stressed the fact that the Warden Navy was still actively defending Jade Cove despite this. So, despite this, and even after the launch, they were still actively trying to defend the middle region, so defend Hutt's Hollow and defend Apollo's Landing. What I found most interesting was the fact that apparently the Warden Navy actually tried to destroy the rocket itself, apparently. They had, they sent a battle tank or so to actually destroy the rocket, but they wanted it to do so because the rocket itself could not be damaged by fellow wardens, essentially. And this also damning thing to Von Claus, I have to be honest here, man. He claimed that there was no kill on sight order against WGA or WNS, and he also made the claim that while he wouldn't tell his fellow clan mates to go out and just kill, WNS and WGA members or so, but he himself would personally kill Cerberus, UEG Emperor on site, essentially himself, as he is rightfully outraged at the entire situation. He claims that that WNS and the other clans themselves built the rocket without making proper defenses and without ensuring that it could be launched in the short order against its intended target. And that he is deeply hurt by the deception of WNS, and he wants to ensure that they are never put into a position where they can launch a ballistic missile again. Yes, what is it? Okay, so let me just go into the next interview and then I'll have overall claims, because I don't want to keep stopping to kind of just like put up my opinions on their claims, so I feel like their words should speak for themselves and I shouldn't be kind of biasly going into agreeing and disagreeing with options. So let's dive into the what the third interview is, and that was with the WNS. They said it was the founder and co-leader, which was Yui Emperor, which out of all the interviews was actually the longest. It was like 50 minutes. Yikes, it was quite a watch or so. No, I mean I love the detail and how long it goes. It's like watching a Foxhole version of C-SPAN, so it's very interesting. But moving on, so Yui Emperor stresses that there was a lot of planning and preparation involved with the rocket, that it had begun over the course of many days prior to it being launched on the 26th, and that multiple clans had helped out in preparing the rocket. These clans consisted of WGA, and various other clans, essentially. He claims that targeting Jade Cove was not a easy decision, that there were many considerations being made. He stated that, he reiterated this, and it is an absolute fact. There were no wardens inside Jade Cove when the missile hit. I feel like a lot of flack that WNS gets is that, oh, they killed warden forces or they're nuking themselves. It's just not true, essentially. The town had fallen, and there were only colonial forces that were killed with the ballistic missile. So, on the note of just team killing their own people and nuking a warden city, this is not factual or true, essentially. And I don't believe that they should be called on that at all, because it's not factual. They also made multiple claims that during the entire process of launching ballistic missile, once it was announced that Jade Cove was going to be the target, that the site was viciously grieved by warden soldiers, that too much equipment was lost, essentially, and that all the team killing that took place, which I always stressed in the beginning, was only done at the launch site, essentially, by people who were disgruntled with the launching of the missile. So none of those team kills took place in Jade Cove as the result of the ballistic missile launch. It was only retaliatory strikes between multiple different groups at the launch site. Nope, I said that I'm just going forward with what they've said, so just doing that. So, the original target wasn't really specified in the interview, or maybe I missed it, but all they said was that the primary target was a target in Westgate. It was apparently a colonial logistical hub that they were going to target and destroy, that they hoped would cripple their war efforts on the Western Front. And that despite that being the original target, due to the missile only being halfway filled, which is a fact of the matter, they decided that they did not have the time to do it due to the fact that there were overwhelming colonial forces in Felnet Coast that they feared would push the launch site. They claim that there was a lack of support in defending Jade Cove. They believe that the force of colonials would essentially steamroll through Jade Cove and, steamroll through Apollo's Landing and then get to the launch site, essentially. This was the number one fear. Yui Emperor stated that apparently in the days prior to this, there had been multiple switch-arounds on Jade Cove. putting a firm belief in his mind that it was an unstable situation and that it could go south for the Warden's side at any given moment, thus stressing the need to launch the missile at something before it could be destroyed or captured by colonial forces. They said that, the colonial forces apparently made multiple attacks on the supply lines heading towards the launch site, attacking the bridge to the north, as well as, making all sorts of harassment around the launch site, making it extremely costly in terms of resources to actually defend the launch site itself. He also states that Jade Cove was chosen as the target because it was not a strategically sound city for the Wardens itself, that the passage to the southeast provided the colonies a defensive advantage, that Jade Cove was impossible to take from Paul's Landing, meaning that he felt that once it had been taken, it would most likely just stay in colonial hands, as the Wardens would be unable to push through due to the vantage point the position gave the colonials if taken. They claim that after the multiple incursions on the launch site by colonial forces, essentially that they did not have the resources and supplies from other clans coming in to actually support them holding on to the launch site itself, and were fully convinced that a giant push to the launch site was inevitable. And and this is when they came to the decision to nuke Jade Cove. After surveying the situation on the ground and feeling that there was no other decision, they then decided that Jade Cove had to be destroyed, essentially, due to its strategic value to the colonials. They proceeded with this with a meeting with several launch personnel. So they got together and they decided that Jade Cove was lost for all intents and purposes, that it was going to fall, and that the best thing that they could do was to salvage the situation. They began the action towards this by having a logistical train go into Jade Cove itself and to take all the supplies out of Jade Cove, rendering it almost useless to the enemy in terms of being unable to get any of the supplies that the Wardens had stockpiled there. Afterwards, and after the town had fallen, was when they actually went ahead and launched the missile. And it is, like I said, a fact that when they launched the missile, the town had, for all intents and purposes, fallen, despite multiple efforts on my part and other people's parts. Essentially, it was in colonial hands. The town hall was down, yes, but the safe house was in colonial hands, and the colonials had firm control over the other side of the river from there, making any attack into Jade Cove impossible at the moment. So yes, the town was completely in colonial hands, and that justified their attack in launching it. Now, the biggest things that he wanted to stress out was the negative reaction he was getting from the entirety of the Warden player base in terms of launching the nuke. Ballistic missile. I'm gonna do this. I've caught myself like 2 or 3 times. I'm pretty sure that I haven't caught myself all the times, but ballistic missile. Moving on. So he stressed the fact that the launch site was on multiple occasions griefed by Warden forces, including WN, who even tried to destroy the missile itself, and that they even got into a situation where I think they might have lost a battle tank trying to defend the launch site itself, or at least I think that might have happened after they launched the missile. And it has been also been stated, and it is a fact, that there was a kill on site order made by WN, and probably multiple other clans against WNS afterwards, which has caused most of them to be harassed and berated by almost everyone at the time. So while the harassment has died down a little bit, from what I can tell, I think they are still kind of blacklisted in terms of the ability to actually get support from other clients, essentially. And it is, what is it? In UE Emperor's opinion that that too much time had been wasted on the backlash. That at the end of the day, that this is all just a game, essentially. And that all the griefing, all the team killing, all the harassment, all the blaming or so, it is the primary factor that caused the Warden loss in the war, as it disrupted all types of coordination. It lowered Warden morale, and it really disrupted overall war effort, essentially. And he stresses that even if you did not agree with their decision, that there's no excuse for that. And I do have to agree as well. I have to agree with the fact that in no situation should we be team killing our own teammates despite what we may think of them. We should not be, what is it? I may have joked around about that in the previous video, so maybe I was just, what is it? I was upset like many people about the situation, but and I did most of it for comedy's sake, because I just thought the entire situation was hilarious as hell. But on a serious note, such actions as so only help the colonials, and they directly affect us in our ability to actually fight on a united front, essentially. And I feel that it can't be stressed enough that this needs to stop, essentially, so, because it only harms us and our experience and our enjoyment in the game. So, now my opinions. If I haven't already kind of made it clear, but I want to give a more reasonable judgment of the entire situation. So, I'm not a judge. I'm not even a leader of any major client or so. I'm just a random YouTuber. I have no authority, but I feel like I might as well just put my opinion out here. So, in my honest opinion, I believe that WNS just wanted to launch the first Warden rocket. That was really it. They'll feel it's really just a scapegoat, really. I really feel like they just wanted to launch the rocket at something, and it seemed like a good idea to hit Jade Cove or so, kind of like a scorched earth policy or so. Which I imagine, what is it? I mean, everyone was excited about the ballistic missile announcement, and everyone wanted to just be a part of that or so. I feel like they just wanted to get it done and then move on, essentially, WNS. And that's understandable from just a player's point of view, really. There's really no fault in that or so. But I do fault them for, what is it? I fault them for, I guess, because the simple fact of the matter is that while they claim that Jade Cove could not be held, in their belief of that, they did everything they could to let it fall, essentially. They, what is it? They took supplies out of Jade Cove. They threatened to destroy the city. I and my battle tanks or so, all the battle tanks that were working with us, did not want to go to Jade Cove. We fought around the city. We tried to interdict enemy supplies and hit them wherever we could, but we could never go directly into the town. We could never help them out where it actually mattered. And the reason for this is because not only if we got there, we weren't going to be supported with infantry, basically, because most of them only have their pistols at the end of the day. But on top of that, none of us wanted to be, you know, destroyed with the ballistic missile. I had to find some way to quickly disengage if that would happen. So, in announcing that the city that is currently being fought over, essentially, is going to be destroyed, as well as intentionally taking out the resources needed to defend it, and then claiming that it was inevitable that it was going to fall, is quite damning on WNS's part, essentially. I firmly believe that they should have instead doubled down and allowed WN and the rest of the forces in Jade Cove the chance to defend the city. Because despite their claims that Jade Cove is advantageous to the Colonials, it is also advantageous to the Wardens as well. The high hill to Jade Cove itself puts all infantry in a huge advantage over Colonial infantry trying to get up there. Our ability to shell their positions as they try to advance is a huge advantage, as well as the fact that they, for all intents and purposes, I think had only one battle tank in the region, while we had like 4 or 5 or so, 3 actively fighting the enemy and 2 at the launch site. So in all fairness, I believe Jade Cove could have been defended. Now, this is from my opinion. They might have been operating in there for days and might have seen town fall multiple times, but in my opinion at that moment, I believe it could have been held for at least about the time it would take to actually get a inter-region launch of the missile. Now, that is the only thing I can really blame them for, really. I also have to condemn WN for their actions in this as well, unfortunately. I am upset about Jade Cove. I am still upset about it. There were times after the destruction of the city where I just didn't want to play the game, because I felt, in my honest opinion, that we had wasted a perfectly good opportunity, that I was personally hindered, me and my crew, my battle tank crew, were personally hindered from being able to assist in the defense and then sabotage by WNS, essentially. But even then, I cannot condone just all the, all the team killing. I can understand harassing them and pointing fun at them, because that's just the internet. That's the internet there and there. So I even get harassed. Not harassed or so. I'm pretty sure it might be unintentional, it might not be or so. But even I get like bad comments in my videos, really, or so. And it's just the internet. It is the nature of games and media for there to be toxic comments and opinions about yourself. So harassment, get over it or so. Team killing I can't really stand for or so. And griefing nonetheless either, because that hurts the entire team. But harassment, just grow up. It's really no big deal, really. But I do also condone all the people who have been team killing them. I honestly, because with the situation in WGA or so, it's probably not only them. A huge amount of people probably stopped playing as the Wardens, as the entire incident or so has really kind of just made us look really incompetent. So, So, I want to put the entire thing to rest. I want to have the entire team move forward from this, essentially, as I feel that it is a waste of time and effort constantly, attacking ourselves, essentially. I do believe that there has to be some type of punishment here, and I do believe that WNS should be banned from ever being allowed to launch any more missiles anytime soon, really. I don't believe that they need to be, constantly banned from the game. I don't believe that they need to be team killed. I don't believe in any of that. They can still be harassed, so you can still point fun at them for will nuke themselves, so that's a hilarious hashtag. But the team killing and the griefing or so has no place on the Warden side of the show. You can poke fun at people's mistakes, but when your actions start affecting the team as a whole, so I believe that is unnecessary. So, to conclude all this, I condemn WNS for sabotaging the front at Jade Cove and then wasting a ballistic missile on it. I condemn WN and the rest of the Warden forces for for griefing and for team killing, essentially, as I feel like this also hurts our cause as well. And what is it? And I feel a huge amount of sympathy for WGA and the rest of our Warden forces that felt that they had to go to the colonial side. I want everyone to just move forward from this so we can focus on actually winning this war, essentially. Getting a victory. And I feel like we have to put a, to quote my least favorite movie in the world, we have to let the past die, so we have to kill it. It's the only way. I can't stress this enough. So, to conclude, cease the harassment against WNS. Focus on the war at hand. WNS, I personally believe you made a mistake in destroying the town, despite everyone telling you not to do it. You did it anyway. I feel like you deserve the scrutiny everyone is giving you, unfortunately. I don't believe you need to be team killed for this, or for your forces to be griefed, but you have to understand that when you literally sabotage a front and then use that it's following as the justification for launching a missile at it, it's really asinine. It really is, essentially. I don't care if Jade was going to fall. If you strip the defenders of their ability to defend themselves and then say, oh, it was inevitable, so Jade Cove was going to fall again. We had to destroy it, essentially. And, oh, just to make sure that the clones didn't get anything this time, we had to strip its weapons as well. No. I can't really support that at all. But I also do not support the griefing and team killing that is befalling you guys, because at the end of the day, despite you guys making a mistake, you guys are a Warden clan, Warden North Star. We all make mistakes, some bigger than others, but I don't believe that warrants your removal, clan, I don't know, disruption or anything. I believe that you guys should now endeavor, just like WGA wants, you guys should endeavor to strengthen your position and standing within the Warden side. Through actions and deeds, you should try to repair your public image or so. Even if you agree that Jade Cove was a justifiable action or so, you either need to... You're probably never going to convince anyone that it was, but you need to find a way to heal that wound that you have caused, because even if it was justifiable action, you have alienated yourself and your clan from everyone else or so who was a part of all this mess, essentially. And that is solely on you guys. As, what is it? As it was your clan's decision to do it, essentially. I also have to stress the fact that, what is it? Not everyone was online on WNS or so when this happened or so. Only a handful of people were actually responsible for this, so every single person in Warden North Star should also be, held accountable for this, because they just weren't here. So it's a really interesting topic or so. It's funny that you get all this from a video game as, what is it, UE Empress expressed, essentially. But that's the nature of engaging games like Foxhole. This isn't like Call of Duty, essentially, so where you just have a match and it's over. This was almost like a 3-week spanning war that people sunk huge amounts of hours into, essentially. So there's a huge amount of investment there. That is probably where the outrage comes from, essentially. This isn't a skirmish map, this is a a giant multi-region war, and that is why people were upset, essentially. And also, one last note I want to put out. You're right. Yui Emperor is right that the griefing and all of that team killing is so nonsense. So all this and the demoralizing effect is probably why we lost the 19th war. But the catalyst of it all was the nuking of Jade Cove, essentially. That was the catalyst that started it all. So to blame the result and not the cause of the actual problem, essentially, is kind of, I wouldn't say hypocritical, but it's not in their favor, I have to say. It is like to hit someone in the foot, have them screaming around in pain, and then knock over like a vase, and then blame them for their not understanding or their inability to contain themselves after their foot was hit, essentially. Unable to contain that pain, essentially. You caused that pain, essentially. You should be held accountable for whatever happened as a result of it, essentially. That is the responsibility you take when you are conducting such an operation, essentially. But these are all just my opinion, I suppose. Maybe that's a cop-out, I suppose, but I am in no way in a position to really judge these people. Nor should I think anyone really judge it, because at the end of the day, it is really just a video game, really. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the incident of Jade Cove as a whole will go down as a meme, as a story that we probably just tell each other, so as the months go on or so, through Foxhole, so, because it was the first Warden ballistic missile used, essentially. So, and currently the only one used, as Clovis took all our launch sites and used them against all our territory. Yeah, but no, yeah, I love to see what your thoughts are in the comments below. This has been a long and serious video. I don't like making long and serious videos. I like to joke around and stuff because that's, the game is supposed to be fun, not really serious intensive. I mean, if I want to do that, I get enough of that from like school or just like watching the actual news. But enough of that. So tell me what you guys think in the comments below. And if you watched towards the end, I appreciate it. I put a lot of time and research into this video, so as I do a good amount of my informative videos. But yes, thank you for watching. I do enjoy the support the channel's been getting, and I will catch you guys next time.